Hello and welcome back to the Baking Novice, the show where I attempt to bake things I've never made before. My name is Sarah, I have no idea what I'm doing, and today we are making choux pastry. More specifically, profiteroles with a custard filling. The recipe that I'm using is from Good Day Soufflé, and that link will be in the description below. Now let's head to the stove and get started. To start off, we're going to take a medium-sized pan, and we're going to add to it 1 cup of water and 6 tablespoons of cubed butter. And we're going to heat that until the butter has melted and bring it just to a boil. So while that is heating, in a separate bowl, I am going to combine our dry ingredients. I'm going to start off by sifting a cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and a pinch of salt. And I'm going to whisk that together. Our water and butter just now started to boil, so what I'm going to do is take it off heat. And now that it's off heat, I'm going to take our flour, sugar, salt mix, and I'm going to add it into our butter and our water. And I'm going to stir that until it becomes a dough and it comes away from the sides. I'm going to put this back on heat. Continue to cook it. Alright, now that it's starting to come away from the sides, I'm going to take it off heat and I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes to let it cool. So I've allowed our dough to cool down for a little bit, and in the meantime I have beaten in 4 separate bowls 4 eggs. We're going to add 3 of these and then check our consistency, and if it needs more, then I'll add the 4th egg a little bit at a time. So we're going to start with our first egg, and be careful to make sure that we don't accidentally cook it. I'm going to switch back over to my spoon for this bit. That's 1 egg in. Let's add our second. So we've added our 3 eggs, and the consistency we're looking for is for it just to make a V shape, which we're not quite at. So I'm going to add a little bit of our last egg before continuing. Alright, I have added 2 teaspoons of the 4th egg, and I think we have our V. We are at the right consistency. So now I am going to add this into a piping bag, and we can get it into our oven. So our choux dough is now ready to be piped, so I have transferred that into a piping bag, and I have a baking tray lined with parchment paper in front of me, and I'm going to pipe our choux. So now that these are piped, before they go into the oven, I'm going to take a little bit of water on my finger and I'm going to flatten down the points, because otherwise they will burn. So I have preheated my oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to put these in for 10 minutes. And then once the 10-minute mark has passed, I'm going to lower the temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and leave them in for the remaining 10 to 15 minutes. So now that our profiteroles are out of the oven, we're going to let them cool. And while we do that, we can make our custard, which I have made ahead of time. So let's jump to that footage. So right now we are going to make the custard filling for our choux pastry. So for our custard, we are going to be adding a cup of whole milk, 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And we are going to heat that on a medium heat. Going to just stir it. And we want to be careful to not boil this. We're just gonna let that heat up. And now while this is happening, I'm going to go and make the other half of our custard. Now over here I have a separate bowl, and it's currently filled with 3 egg yolks. And what we're gonna do is we're going to whisk with this a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. We're gonna whisk that together. And then once that is incorporated, we are going to add 1/3 cup of flour and mix it until it is fully incorporated. And then we'll just set it aside until our milk is ready. Our milk has been sufficiently heated. I'm going to use a ladle, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a small amount of the heated milk into our egg and whisk a lot. And whisk it as it's going, because otherwise it's going to cook our eggs and we don't want that. We should get a sufficient. I'm going to switch whisks for a smaller one. You need to be very careful with that milk. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to slowly add my egg mixture while whisking at the same time. Fair warning, this is a bit of a workout. I'll be really quick and get the rest of this egg mixture into our custard. And make sure the egg doesn't have a chance to curdle. So the last thing we want is for our custard to taste like scrambled eggs. I'm going to put this back on our heat, and I'm going to continue to mix and let it thicken up more. So I'm going to take that off heat. But look at that. I have moved our custard from the pan into this bowl, which will sit overnight in the fridge and should be ready for us to use tomorrow. The choux is now cool, and I'm going to transfer the custard into a piping bag and get to filling these. Well, we managed to do it. We have profiteroles. Final thoughts. Honestly, not that bad. I don't know if there would be anything I would change. I think it's honestly a good recipe. It's fairly easy. I think after all of the bake-off that I've seen where people screw up with their choux pastry, it could have gone a lot worse. But yeah, profiteroles. Just join me next time where I attempt to make something else. I have been Sarah. I have no idea what I'm doing. Bye.